As they say, when voices fade, conscience is made. Now, I will introduce you, jury of conscience, and each one of you, as I mention your name, I will ask you kindly to just step on the stage and sit into your chair. So, Christine Chinkin is the first member of the jury. She's a professor of FBA, SMG, is Emeritus Professor of International Law at the London School of Economy, and Global Law Professor at the University of Michigan. She's author or co-author of several books on international law, including The Boundaries of International Law and Feminist Analysis in 2000, and new editions in 2026. And most recently, Gender, Peace, Courage, International Law, edition due to 2024. She was a member of the Human Rights Advisory Panel in Kosovo for 6 years, a scientific advisor for the drafting committee of the Council of Europe Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence, due to Istanbul Convention, and member of the UNHRC fact-finding mission.
Değiştirdi mi lan?
2008 and fact-finding mission on
Mikrofon mu acaba şey olmuş?
2009 Oslo Commission.
Film falan
She
var
has
değil mi?
been still an expert in cases before ICJ, the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, and national courts, including the UK, South Korea, Colombia. She was elected executive chair of the ILA in November 2021.
Böyle de değil. Böyle değil.
We also have Keniz Murad. Keniz Murad was born in Paris to a Turkish mother and an Indian father.
She was brought up in Paris, educated in Catholic school.
Before studying psychology and psychology at the Sorbonne. She met a real family and discovered her Muslim roots at the age of 18. From 1969 to 1982, she reported for the French weekly news magazine Le Nouvel Observateur, specializing in the Middle East and the Indian subcontinent, covering, among the other major world events, the Lebanese Civil War, the Ethiopian Revolution, and the Palestine-Israeli conflict. In 1980, her attention Princess, which was largely based on the life of her mother, an exiled Ottoman princess. This enjoyed huge success both in Keniz's native France, but also around the world, being translated into 30 for them.
Kankam line'dayız kanalın nikah üzerine. Nikah üzerine.
Anlatış. Again, focuses on India and the difficult understanding between East and West. Our sacred land, Voices for Palestine and Israel, going in Portuguese, and testimonies of ordinary people in a war-torn society, published in English by the is the translation of its major work. But since then, all her books have been boycotted by the French media, very much under Zionist influence. Even if her two books, In the City of Gold and Silver, the real story of an Indian Muslim queen who led the first revolution against the British, and In the Land of the Pure, geopolitical novel taking place in Pakistan, have nothing to do with the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Nowadays, Keniz Murad is living in Istanbul. She precedes since 20 years the France-Turkey Literary Prize, and her awards are Officer of Arts and Letters, Knights of the Legion of Honor. We also have Chandra Muzaffar. Dr. Chandra Muzaffar is the president of the International Movement for a Just World, an international NGO based in Malaysia, which seeks to critic global injustice and to develop an alternative vision of a just and compassionate civilization guided by universal spiritual and moral values. He has published extensively on civilizational dialogue, international politics, religion, human rights, and Malaysian society. The author and editor of 42 books in English and Malay, many of his writings have been translated into other languages. Among Chandra's latest publications are A Changing World, Emerging Realities, it's an ebook, and Palestine Reflecting on One of the Noblest Struggles for Justice, ebook 2. Today, apart from his role in JUST, Chandra sits on the board of a number of international NGOs concerned with social justice and civilizational
dialogue. Chandra was a professor and the director of the Center for Civilizational Dialogue, University of Malaya from 1997 to 1999, and a professor of global studies at University Sens Malaysia 2007 to 2012. Chandra is the recipient of a number of international awards related to his scholarship and social activism. Chandra is married to Merima Prguda, and they have 2 daughters. And we have Ghada Karmi. Dr. Ghada Karmi is a Palestinian physician, academic, and author whose life and work have been profoundly shaped by the experience of exile and the Palestinian struggle for justice. Ghada Karmi was born in Jerusalem and was forced to leave her home with her family as a result of Israelis' creation in 1948. The family moved to England in 1949, and she pursued higher education and earned a medical degree from the University of Bristol. She later specialized in public health, particularly on migrant health and support for undeserved communities. Karmi began to engage more directly with Palestinian political activism. She co-founded the first British-Palestinian medical charity that aimed to address the healthcare needs of Palestinians living under occupation and in refugee camps. Dr. Karmi has become one of the most prominent voices articulating the Palestinian narrative in both scholarly and public forums. She has taught at SOAS at the University of Exeter and has written extensively on Middle Eastern politics, identity, and displacement. Her acclaimed books include In Search of Fatima, a Palestinian story, Married to Another Man, Israeli's Dilemma in Palestine, and Return, a Palestinian memoir. Beyond her books, Karmi has contributed articles and commentary to numerous international outlets. She has also appeared in documentaries and public debates, consistently advocating for Palestinian rights and challenging dominant media narratives that marginalize Palestinian perspectives. Dr. Karmi continues to speak and write internationally, combining her medical, scholarly, and activist perspectives to advocate for justice, equality, and the right of return for Palestinians. Sami Al-Aryan is a professor and the founding director of the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. He lived in the United States for 4 decades, where he was a tenured academic. Dr. Al-Aryan founded numerous institutions and publications in the fields of education, research, religion, interfaith work, advocacy, civil and human rights, and Palestine, foreign policy, and international relations. In 2001, Newsweek named him a premier civil rights activist in the US for his efforts to repeal the use of secret evidence in immigration courts. In 2012, historians profiled him in the Encyclopedia of American Dissidents as one of only 3 Muslims in the United States among 152 dissidents and prisoners of conscience included over the past century alongside the legend of Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. Dr. Al-Aryan was a prolific speaker across many US campuses, and since relocating to Turkey, at venues worldwide, Dr. Al-Aryan is also the author of dozens of studies, articles, and books on topics related to Islam and the West, the Islamic Ummah, Islamophobia, civil rights, Palestine, the Arab Spring, the Middle East, and the American foreign policy. Since the Israeli genocide in Gaza in 2023, Dr. Al-Aryan has been widely featured in programs around the world in multiple languages and has advocated for the dismantling of Zionist structures worldwide based on his theory of the 12 pillars of Israeli imperatives. And Biljana Vankovska. Biljana Vankovska is a retired professor of political science, peace studies, and international relations from Skopje, in North Macedonia. She serves as a board member of the Transnational Foundation for Peace and Future Research in Lund, Sweden, and is a member of the No Cold War International Collective. Throughout her career, Professor Vankovska has held several distinguished academic and research positions, including guest senior research fellow at the Copenhagen Peace Research Institute, faculty member of the European Peace University in Stadtschlaning in Austria, and senior fellow at the Geneva Center
for the democratic control of armed forces. She was also actively involved in the RECOM Initiative for Truth and Reconciliation in the territory of the former Yugoslavia. And for the first panel, overviewing the work of the Gaza Tribunal chambers, you will be hosted and moderated by our dear Professor Penny Green. So Penny Green, hello and welcome.
I'll start again. My name is Penny Green. I'm Professor of Law and Globalization and Director of the International State Crime Initiative at Queen Mary, University of London. I'm on the steering committee of the Gaza People's Tribunal, and I'll be moderating today's session. I just want to remind, though Richard did mention this in his talk towards the end, that this is a people's tribunal. It is not a judicial court. And I think it's very important for us to understand that we exist in the tradition of the Russell Tribunal and the Permanent People's Tribunal that was based in Rome. So the jury will listen to all of the expert and witness testimony that will be delivered today and over the course of the next 3 days. And they will then ask questions of those who are delivering testimony, if they require to do so. And then at the end of the 3 days, they will deliberate and basically prepare a concluding statement on all that they have heard. Before we begin the next session, I just want to remind speakers that we are sticking to a very tight 10-minute delivery time. We're already running a little late. It's not too bad, but and there are moments where we can catch up. So I think now we will move to the chambers.